Aloha and welcome to Connection to the Cosmos with your host, me, Dr. Lisa Thompson, where I have out of this world conversations with extraordinary people. Today, I'm very excited to have on Stacy Robinette, and we're going to bring her on in just a moment. But first, a couple of announcements. If you have not had the opportunity to grab one of my 20-minute free meditative journeys to meet your galactic family and guides, make sure you grab that on my website, mysticmanta.com or drlisajthompson.com. Also, I will be teaching my Galactic Ascension Channel certification program September 21st and 22nd online. So if you're a healer or interested in learning that modality, please check that out also on my website. I will also be hosting my Galactic Retreat October 2nd to the 6th. This is 5 intensive days here in Hawaii on the Big Island, where you will get a much deeper connection to your galactic team. And if you are coming to Hawaii, specifically to the Big Island, then come see me on one of my Big Island UFO tours where you will see the night sky in a whole new way using the advanced Generation 3 military night vision goggles. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to bring on Stacy. Hello, Stacy.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And when I read your bio here, people will understand why I'm really excited to talk to you. So Stacy Robinette is a gifted priestess and shamanic healer whose unique abilities were activated during a profound training that tapped into her soul's curriculum. As a certified Akashic Records practitioner, Stacy masterfully blends shamanic journeying, healing frequencies, and embodied practices to address the root of emotional pain. Drawing from Lemurian, Atlantean, and Galactic healing frequencies, Stacy channels powerful energies to facilitate deep healing. Her passion lies in creating a safe and transformative space for individuals to alchemize limiting belief systems and patterns, allowing them to experience greater joy and fulfillment. She helps people revitalize their relationships with themselves and others to create a healthy, wealthy, happy life. She knows that all phenomenal things are possible, and she is here to help others understand that too. She offers her healing sessions online via Zoom, bringing her profound insights and compassionate guidance to a global audience. So, I cannot wait to talk to you about how you got into all this. And so, where we're going to start is I would love for you to share with me and the audience, your background, like how you grew up, spiritual, religious, something else. How did you get into this?
I grew up Catholic, and I ended up liking Catholicism so much that I majored in Catholic theology in college, and my intention was to become a religious education leader. And I did that for a little bit, and I decided to get into teaching. So I ended up teaching at a Catholic school for about a year until I got really sick. And a lot of doctors just didn't know what was wrong. And I finally was diagnosed with Lyme disease. And that lasted for about 10 years. And that journey got me onto like a different spiritual path. And it kind of started with one of my integrated medicine doctors in Tennessee who would not let me start on antidepressants. When I asked him for them, he said, I want you to go experience Reiki first. He had a Reiki practitioner at his office. And when I tried Reiki, I was amazed. That was my first experience of God being so close to me. And after that, I decided to pursue Reiki certification, and then one thing led to another, just meeting different healers and so forth. And in 2016 is when I met a channel and started learning about galactic beings. And I was just super interested in all those things. 2 years later, I went to Shasta for some time and met some people there who told me about the Telosians that live, under the mountain of Mount Shasta. And I was just like, what? And it just resonated. And so I just started Googling Telosians and Lemuria and finding out more. So yeah, and one thing led to another. I ended up studying with a shamanic healer who helped me to activate my gifts. Uh, so I have a Lemurian frequency of unconditional love and healing, and I see that as a pink frequency. And then after my training with her, I got really dizzy and I started like feeling like I was going to the left, like kind of spinning to the left. And I was not sure what was happening. But luckily, there was an opportunity to do a phone call with my two teachers from Kairos Healers Academy, and I got to ask about it. And so one of the teachers said, "Oh, I'm feeling this is Atlantean energy." And so I tuned more into it and realized it was my Atlantean healing ball of light, which looks blue to me. So yeah, I use both those frequencies for healing in my sessions.
Okay, well, and you mentioned the galactic frequencies as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
are there specific galactic groups that you work with, or that you know that you work with, or is it just like a greater galactic kind of general group?
Typically in my sessions, I transmit an Arcturian frequency. So it's called the Arcturian Codes of Bitter Medicine. And I learned this from Aaron Lazar from the Architects of Destiny. And so what this does is it creates an emotional detox in the client. And I tell them ahead of time, okay, for 7 days, you're going to feel some intense emotions all coming up at once, and it's going to be really uncomfortable, but you'll feel better after the 7 days are over. So would you like the frequency? So I always ask permission, and every single time, yeah, I want it. And sometimes people come to me saying, my friend did this frequency thing with you, and I really want that too. So it's funny. And there are two other ones. There's a Palladian one, and that's Palladian Codes of Bitter Medicine, but that is extremely intense and it only lasts for 3 days. And the other one is the Syrian Codes of Bitter Medicine, and that lasts about 10 to 14 days. But I feel like most people don't want to deal with it for that long. And it's also gentle though. So yeah, it just depends. So I kind of just tune into what I feel that the client needs during the session. And it's always, lately it has been the Arcturian one.
Okay, that's really interesting because the Arcturians are one of the groups that I do a lot of work with. And the healing modality that I have created is actually bringing in those galactic kind of energies as well. Mine specifically are the Arcturians, the Syrians, and the Mantis.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So now, I guess let's start with the kind of clients that come to you. Like, what kinds of issues might they have? Why would they come and be like, Stacy, I need you?
Yeah, typically they come to me because they're having difficulty with a family member or with their significant other. So usually we do either inner child healing or we might access a past life with that particular person that they're having an issue with. And we find that if we clear whatever issue it is, for example, this one client came to me complaining that she had been having issues with her mother pretty much ever since she was born. And she said it's just always caused animosity between the two of them. And no matter what she did, she just couldn't figure it out. And so there was a past life of the two of them where they were friends, but her mother's past self was jealous of her. And so we cleared the jealousy and any contracts and, downloaded the lessons. And she said 2 days later, wow, there was an almost miraculous shift in my mother since we did that session. And thank you so much. And she said, my mom was texting me things she's never texted me before, like, I love you. And so, yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Can you give me another example of how you've helped someone?
Yeah. Well, in my sessions where we do the past life healings, I always access a negative and a positive past life. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want the client to be just left with a negative experience. And also with accessing the positive past life, clients receive messages or frequencies. And so I had one woman come to me who was having a difficult time with her boyfriend. And so the negative past life was where they were married and he was abusive to her. But we cleared all the trauma. And then the positive past life was the two of them at their wedding. And she said that she was on the dance floor with him and just enjoying, dancing. And she felt these emotions of love and joy and passion. And she said that after the session, anytime that she and her boyfriend would argue, she would tap into those emotions and then she would be able to diffuse the arguments.
Okay.
And like seeing the positive past life with him also gave her hope that they would have a beautiful relationship in this current life together.
Got it. That's beautiful. So when you're helping people to access their past lives, do you do it through regression or are you doing it through as an Akashic Records practitioner? Or both?
I do it with a journey. Well, I have two options. So the first one is a journey where I take the client with me, and then two guides appear to accompany them. And then the other option is like where I just go into the client's Akashic Records and I come to 4 doors. So there's a galactic door, past life door, present life door, and then future door. And then I also access 2 memories in the Akashic Records, but it's not necessarily a negative and a positive. I've seen 2 positives before. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, and all of this, you said you can do online.
Yeah, and some video.
Okay. So then let's go back to your story because I've had a few other guests on here over the last couple of years that have also experienced having Lyme disease. And one of them has been able to really do a miraculous healing and come out of that. And one of them still has residual symptoms. And so I'm curious what that journey was like for you and have you been able to have that healing?
Yeah, so I tried so many different things. I tried Rife machines and Skio machines, time waver machines. So I tended to really like the frequency methods. And I also took herbs and I found that those were helpful to an extent. Actually, it wasn't until clearing a past life in which I was a very gifted prophet living in the Mediterranean area. And there was an emperor who found out how gifted I was. And so he sent for me and he held me hostage to use my gifts against my will to help him win battles and to find gold. And that trauma was running the Lyme disease in my life. And so after clearing that trauma, it seemed like my body responded better to the herbs and the acupuncture that I was doing, the frequency healing that I was doing. At that time, it was the time waver machine. And also, I connected with my Pleiadian guides because I'm a Pleiadian starseed. Okay. And they also brought in this element called Ichor, which the spelling is Ichor. And so they filled my immune system to strengthen it. And then they also used the Ichor to break up like the biofilm and everything that was protecting the Lyme to allow it to come out so that the herbs and the frequencies could kill it. So, I mean, I feel like my Lyme journey is behind me. It's just that, like right now, I'm dealing with mold issues, so it's kind of confusing because some of the symptoms are a little bit similar. But with Lyme disease, I always felt like my body got really hot, and my acupuncturist said it's because the spirochetes are like they have like a fiery energy, and I don't have that anymore. So I think it's just the residual like mold infection that I'm dealing with. And yeah, I'm feeling much better though, like incredibly better compared to how I was before, because I was in a wheelchair in 2013 when the Lyme first started, and that pretty much I was bedridden.
Wow.
I had 2 young kids at the time, so let's see, one was 3 and the other one was under 1. So that was really hard.
Very hard. Well, and just what a beautiful example of how when we do clear out past, like, or parallel, because I do regression therapy is one of my modalities as well. And so it's amazing that when we have trauma that we brought in from other lives, and we're clearing that, how our body can naturally do its job.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah.
Just to think, wow, that was blocking my body from like really receiving the medicine. Like, yeah, that was mind blowing.
Yeah. So and I think that's true for any kind of disease or illness someone has, like clearing away the emotional underlying pennies, whether it's from this life or a different life, in terms of being able to really become all that you can be.
Yeah, and some of the other things that I cleared that I also feel were underlying the Lyme disease were ancestral trauma, inner child wounds, and I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like family systems. Yeah, family systems trauma. So I feel like all those things help, but for some reason, the past life clearing, that was like one of the big pieces of the puzzle.
Okay, excellent. Well, in the work that you do, how else has it helped your life, specifically you? Like, how have you transformed by switching gears? Because being Catholic and growing up and being so hardcore like that, and then completely, I don't know how your family, do they think of you like, whoa, she's into galactic stuff now? Or, it's for a lot of, very religious people, the kind of work that we do, it doesn't fit for them.
Right. Yeah, both of my parents just give me space to do my own thing. They don't really ask me too many questions. It's kind of like, oh, how are your sessions going? And then I tell them a little bit, okay, great. And then they want to change to the subject. So I appreciate the fact that they're giving me space and not, criticizing me or anything like that. But it definitely was a big switch when I told my husband back in 2016, you know what, the Catholic Church doesn't resonate anymore. And I remember being at Mass with my family. There was a skylight, and at that time, the priest was giving a homily about how you're all sinners and you need to go to confession and all this stuff. And I had started working on my inner child and learning about shame and all that. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm getting shamed right here in church. What is happening? And just then, like the sky, like the sun somehow is just shining on me. I'm looking around like, is the sun shining on anybody else? And it wasn't. And I said, oh, okay, well, maybe that spirit's way of saying, ding, 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 that is correct. So after that, I said, okay, no more Catholicism for me. So.
Okay. Well, and was he in the Catholic Church with you?
Yes, he was, but not very dedicated. He kind of would complain like, I don't want to go to church. But still, it was kind of like, well, this woman that I married, she loves Catholicism and she majored in it. And so it was a real shock for him, I think. And it took him a few weeks to, comprehend. And then after that, he was good with not going to church. So he said, well, I really like being in nature. So we started going on more hikes. And I said, yeah, I feel more connected to God and nature.
Well, that's interesting. So does he fully resonate with the work that you do, or is he just supportive and just like, okay, you do you?
He does not resonate. He very much is you do you. Sometimes I get really excited though, like with some of the healings that I receive or some of the journeys I do, and tell him all about it. And his eyes are so wide, like, okay, that was too much information. He gets a little bit overwhelmed. So I just laugh and say, oh, whoops, okay, next time I'll just maybe give him one little sentence and say, I was really happy today because this, and that's it. Leave it at that.
Okay. Well, and your kids are now older, so how are they with all this? Because I've got teenagers, so
yeah, they're 14 and 11, and I mean, I don't really tell them too much about my work. Sometimes, you know, they might hear me talking to a friend on the phone and saying, oh, wait a minute, like I heard you saying something about galactic beings on the phone to your friend, and like they might ask one or two questions, but then they kind of leave it alone. So yeah, it's just whenever they come to me is when I start to share things with them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and my daughter, she's almost 18, but she, you know, a few years ago, she thought what I did was just like the weirdest thing ever. And now she actually thanks me for the work I do and also for being an ET, and so that she can be part ET as well. So
it's amazing.
Yeah. And, you know, with my son, he's currently living with his father, who's a total skeptic. And so my son gets both sides of it, and he, you know, he's making up his own mind, but he has seen craft, but then he denies that he's seen them. So he's almost 16. So
okay.
So it's just interesting when kids, you know, grow up in a household like what we are doing as healers and connecting with these other energies, right?
Right.
It's definitely not mainstream. And so I'm always curious what another mother's perspective is.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the Lemurian piece, because so I'm here in Hawaii, which is part of Lemuria. And I know I was very much called here to have my energy here in the island. And it's interesting that you were mentioning, you know, going to Shasta and Talos and all of that. There's a direct tunnel that my friend Tracy and I discovered in a session together between the Big Island and Mount Shasta.
Ooh, I have chills.
Inner Earth. And so the Agarthans are some of the groups that I do work with astrally. And I'm curious, do you know, what's your connection with them?
So I channel the Lemurians in channeled writing almost every day. And I also feel that I have a parallel life in Telos. And so when I went to Shasta again, let's see, I think it was in 2021, I went to the mountain and just laid there, and I transported myself down to my home there. And so it's a crystal room, and it's round, and there's a healing pod in it. And so I just got in the healing pod. And I mean, I didn't meet my parallel self, though. It was kind of like, well, I was alone. But I feel like my parallel self is studying frequency healing that one day will be brought to the surface when all the Lemurians come up to meet us and to help us usher in the new earth.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, and, you know, there's the Atlantean energy, at least from my experience, is very different than the Lemurian energy. And so tell me more about your experience with that.
I don't really, I mean, sometimes I do channel the Atlantean beings, like in my channeled writing. I do feel like I'm closer to the Lemurians, but I do know that I've had past lives in Atlantis, and definitely was a priestess. So I, you know, was a keeper of the temple and led people in rituals. And it's interesting because I'm called to use both Atlantean and Lemurian frequencies like together. So I typically use the Atlantean follow-up healing light first, and that clears out anything that doesn't serve the person. And then the Lemurian one, I beam that from my heart to their heart. And so that's of unconditional love and healing. So it almost feels like the Atlantean frequency is like more masculine, and the Lemurian one is feminine.
That was what I was getting, or what I was picking up from you about that.
Yeah.
And what I know about the civilizations as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting of you saying that you're, the Pleiadian starseed is, you probably know that the Pleiadians were directly working with the Lemurians, right?
Yeah. And so that's why it almost feels like the Lemurians and Atlanteans are galactic. I mean, I know they're Earth seeds, but it's like, and even when I was writing my bio, I was like, should I say Lemurians, Atlanteans, and galactic beings? Because they all feel galactic to me. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're definitely a different energy vibration than modern humans, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Yes. And we need more of us helping to heal the emotions of people so we can help raise that vibration. Really, so we can get to New Earth. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is one of my passions, is to help people to get to the core of emotional pain and just release all the suffering that is causing them, so that, we could all raise our vibrations and then create this human grid to support the coming of the new Earth.
Yeah.
Which is so exciting. I'm so excited.
So how did you come to figure out that the Pleiadians were your, I guess, closest root?
So that was in a session with Aaron Lazar. And so I felt like I was there with him when I was in my last Pleiadian past life, and seeing my Pleiadian family there. So I had a spouse, a significant other, and then 2 children with him. And so it was like this experience of telling them I am feeling called to go on a mission to Earth, and I love you all. I'm going to miss you so much. And just like feeling that grief, but then at the same time, like excitement and a sense of duty. And just seeing the planet, it had like a lot of mirrors, and there were like blue colors, lavender colors, and the planet had 3 moons. And it was just like the family there is just so sacred and sweet. So it was a very interesting past life experience.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing when I, over the last, many years that I've been doing regressions, more and more of my clients are now experiencing the non-Earth lives compared to Earth lives. And are yours as well?
My clients?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you're seeing like an uptick in more of the galactic stuff coming up now.
Yeah, I did have a client access a past life as a Lyran avian being.
Okay.
And so her past self gave her like an energetic upgrade to help her to move forward, because she was feeling stuck in her life. And it was such a beautiful being. But I've had a few other clients access past lives too, but one was just in outer space, so we didn't really like tune into like what race she was or where. But it's really cool when we do see one of their galactic past lives. I get really excited.
Yeah, I do too. Because for me, I love it. It brings the work that I do and that we do. It just brings it more validity. We do have galactic family out there, and we're all connected.
Yes. Yeah, they're all like brothers and sisters.
Yeah. So you mentioned the channeling that you do. So is it just through writing, or do you vocal channel as well?
I vocal channeled like a few times, but typically it is through writing. And sometimes in client sessions, I will, vocally channel, but it's not very often. Usually with the channeled galactic frequencies, it's just a frequency that comes through me. So it's just silence as I do that. And then I just let the client know that the transmission is complete.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, so how, I know you work online. Is there anything else that you want to share about the work that you do, like, or any profound messages in our last bit of time here?
Okay. Yeah. So my website is stacyrobinette.com. And right now I am offering private sessions, and I have packages. So I have a package of 3 or a package of 5. And we meet on Zoom video, and these sessions are customized to the client's needs. So it could be an inner child healing, or the past life journey, or soul work, which is where a person who's having difficulty in a relationship will have, so the client soul comes out in front of them, and then the person with whom the client is having difficulty, their soul comes out. And so they speak to one another at that soul level. And then there's like a clearing of energy with a fire. And so those are just some of the things that we might do, some of the processes, but sometimes there's a process that comes in that I haven't used before. And so, yeah, so I would love to receive any questions. If anybody wanted to ask me about my sessions, my email address is on my website.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I really appreciate you being here. And again, the more of us that are doing this work, it's just so important. Number one, that we do our own healing, but that will then propagate out to others naturally.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for those watching or listening. And I'll see you next time on Connection to the Cosmos. Aloha.